Hello and welcome to the power rankings for the Void Fantasy Football League. This league is a 12-team league, PPR, super flex, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 2 flex. There is 0.5 tight end premium per reception for the tight ends. So we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. My name is Mix Dalkin. You can find me on Twitter at Mix Dalkin, or check out the pod at Sports Casserole on Twitter. I'll start with number 12. And at 12, unfortunately, is my team. I kind of sold out and just got draft picks. I can't rank myself anything better than 12 based off of what I have right now. But I'll do a rookie mock later on, and hopefully it'll help fill some holes. But a lot of rookie players are going to have to hit. At quarterback, I have Winston, Daniel Jones, and the backup is Teddy Bridgewater. I really like my quarterbacks. They're young, both young. Well, really, all three are young, with Teddy being 27 and hopefully getting a new contract somewhere this year. Yeah, that's the best position I have, to be honest with you. At running back, I have Miles Sanders and Darius Geis, and not much else of consequence. Wide receivers, Debo, Devontae Parker, Curtis Samuel, Anthony Miller, and that's about it. Tight end, I have I have Hooper and Mike Gesicki. I think Hooper, when I drafted him, I knew it was a possibility he wasn't going to be in Atlanta anymore, but I was hoping he would still be there. He was tight end 1 before he got injured last year. So I really liked that pick at the time. But now it's not looking great. Hopefully he either stays in Atlanta or doesn't go to Green Bay like it's rumored right now. But Mike Gesicki, I think there was some good chatter coming out at the combine that he might line up in the slot a lot more this year, and he definitely came on at the end of the season last year. And as we all know, he was an athletic freak at the combine 3 years ago now. But that's my team. I also have rookie picks 104, 107, 108, 110, 112, 201, 205, 206, and 210. And I also picked up an extra first rounder for next year. So with all those picks, I don't think I'll be competing this year for sure. But next year, hopefully, and the year after, I'm set up to make some noise. We'll see. At 11, I have Muckalooka 27. And this league was hard. Other than my team, there's not a bad team. And it really just comes down to what he's able to do with the team he's got. At running back, he's got Josh Jacobs, James White, Latavius Murray, Damian Harris, Jamal Williams. Other than Jacobs and White, even James White, I don't know if you want to rely on week to week, but Jacobs is solid. He's definitely a solid running back. Hopefully he'll get more pass catching duty this year. At quarterback, he's got Rodgers, Stafford, and Trubisky. I don't love the Trubisky pick where he took him. I'm a Bears fan, so me saying that I don't love that pick is kind of an indication of how poorly Trubisky's been playing. And he might not even be the starter this year. So at his 102, he might have to go quarterback. He might not. Personally, I'd go quarterback regardless if you need to or not, just because of how valuable Superflex or the quarterbacks are in Superflex. Wide receivers are definitely a strength for him. He's got Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Robert Woods. But then it kind of falls off. He's got Sammy Watkins and Emmanuel Sanders. Both of them good players at times. Sanders is getting up there in age, and we don't know where he's going to be playing. But with the three he's got, Hill, Adams, and Woods, he should be solid every week. His tight ends, he's got 2 young, good options in Evan Ingram and Dallas Goedert. Ingram, if he can stay healthy, he should be a top 5 tight end, which in this league matters with the half-point premium for wide or for tight ends. It's not a bad team. It's just not his big weakness is running back, and I would say running back and quarterback, and then depth. And the way the rest of the league stacks up, I just don't know if he'll be able to add enough in the draft to be able to compete this year. It's definitely a solid team, though. It being at 11 isn't saying that it's a bad team. It's just not as good as the rest of the league, to be honest. At 10, I have Clondon, and this is really only because his quarterbacks are weak. The rest of his team, really solid. His quarterbacks are Locke, Cousins, and Carr. Cousins is decent, but he's not going to be a top 10 option unless they pass the ball more in Minnesota, but that's not going to happen unless everyone in the backfield gets hurt. Yeah, and then Carr, there's rumors he might not even be the starter in Las Vegas now, I guess, but we'll see. That's all somewhat dependent on what happens with Tom Brady, if he resigns with the Patriots or if he goes somewhere else. The Raiders are rumored to really, really want him and supposedly are going to offer him $40 million a year, which seems ridiculous to me to offer a 41-year-old quarterback who hasn't really played that well recently that kind of money, especially when the Raiders aren't really a team that I can see actually competing this year. But going to Vegas, I guess they feel like they need to make a splash. At running back, he's got a really solid team. If he had just one other quarterback that I trusted more than Drew Lock, his team would be much higher in the rankings. He's got Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and then follows that up with Ronald Jones. 3 running backs that can easily, with barring injury, be in the top 10, if not top 5 at the position. Really depends on where Henry goes, if he will stay in that top 10 discussion or not. But if he does even half of what he did in the last half of the season this year, be a solid running back. Wide receiver, he's got Odell, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, Brandon Cooks, Corey Davis, and Tyrell Williams. They're solid. Odell should bounce back, hopefully. But there's also a couple other weapons in that offense. Although Jarvis Landry is going to be out most of the regular or the offseason, if not all of the offseason. So we'll see if that helps Odell gain some chemistry with Baker, being that he'll be the primary weapon without Jarvis there. Not that Odell's never not the primary weapon, but and then we got DK Metcalf and Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, I don't personally like him. I don't think he's a solid number 2. I don't think he has the athletic traits to be a number 1 wide receiver if Julio was to go down or just decline, which I don't think is going to happen this year. Calvin Ridley, I don't think will ever ascend to being a number 1, but he's a solid number 2, and on this team, he's actually the number 3 wide receiver. So his wide receiver group's solid. His tight end is kind of his weakest point in Njoku and Jonnu Smith. They're both athletic freaks going into their third season. Nope, it's their 4th seasons. For both of them have potential to break out. Njoku just needs to stay healthy and his hands need to improve. Jonnu Smith finally has an opportunity presumably with Delaney Walker not coming back this year. So Jonnu will be the primary tight end. But if they re-sign Derrick Henry, how much are they actually going to be passing the ball? That's a debate. And then his flex position is decent. Like I said, if he had better quarterbacks, he'd be a lot higher on the list. At number 9, I have, and this one kind of surprised me that I had him this low. I thought I was going to have him a lot higher during the draft. I liked a lot of his picks, but he just doesn't have the depth or it's mostly depth, and he's relying on young wide receivers to make turnarounds in their games, I guess. I have Boss Ox 007 at quarterback. He's got Sam Darnold and Gardner Minshew. He does have the 101, so he'll have his choice of Burrow, Tua, or Herbert. I would assume he's going to go Burrow. But between Darnold and Burrow, I like that quarterback tandem. And then if Minshew can be the starter, he's a good quarterback. I think he was above average last year. I think when he started, he was quarterback 10 for the games that he started. So his quarterbacks are good, but relying on a rookie and Sam Darnold as your quarterbacks, although I like the future for him, I don't know if I like it right away. And with the running backs he has, I would want to have a little bit more solid, stable production from my quarterbacks because he does have good running backs in Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb. They're championship caliber running backs. Nothing really to say there other than Cook with his injury history, but he did back him up with Alexander Madison. So he's got his butt covered there. And then Nick Chubb, solid running back. Hurts a little bit if they bring back Kareem Hunt, but he's still solid. At wide receiver, he's got A.J. Brown, Kenny Golladay, and Marquise Brown. Kenny G, he's a really solid wide receiver. Low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. A.J. Brown, although right now I think he's a sell just because of how much the hype has grown on him. I love him. But I love young, productive wide receivers, which A.J. Brown is. I see a lot of parallels between him and DJ Moore, just in their play style, their production at a young age. Yeah, nothing really more to say about A.J. Brown. And Marquise Brown, he's fast and really productive when he gets the ball and is healthy. Health is a big factor with him. And I would assume that the Ravens are going to bring in some more wide receiver help this year. So we'll see how he does. He might end up just being a Deshaun Jackson boom-bust wide receiver, which as your wide receiver 3, you could do a lot worse. And then at tight end, he has Noah Fant as a promising young tight end. This is partially the reason that I have him at number 9. It's a young team. It's got a lot of promise, but it's at least, in my mind, 1 to 3 years away from really competing for a championship. I could be wrong. All of those players could hit, and he could be right in the thick of things. So, but yeah, Boss Ox 07 is at number 9. Number 8, I have Jeff West, number 1. And this ranking is primarily because of his running backs and his depth. His quarterbacks are Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. He doesn't have a third, which is concerning, considering Jackson and Allen are both running quarterbacks, which leads to more injuries or more frequent injuries. But when they're healthy, it's, I would argue, the best starting quarterback duo in the league. And it's not even close. And they could easily carry him to a championship if his running backs can stay moderately healthy and or have a job. Because his running backs are Kerryon Johnson and Devontae Freeman. Kerryon is the running back that I dislike the most in the NFL. I don't dislike him as a person. I dislike the hype around him and the fact that no one seems to take into account. Well, they take it into account, but they don't take into account his injury history enough. Dating back to his sophomore year in high school, he's only finished 3 seasons. 2 seasons, my bad. His senior year in high school and his last year in college. Those are the only 2 seasons he didn't end on the IR, dating back to his sophomore year in high school. That's 8 years now. That's a long time to not finish a season or finish more than 2 seasons. So I think it's understated how injury-prone Kerry. I don't want to say injury-prone, but but how frequently he's injured. And that was my concern when he was coming out of high school or college. He has an upright running style that lends itself to being hit harder and more susceptible to injury. So Kerryon, if he can stay healthy, he's great, but that's a big if. His other running back is Devontae Freeman, who knows where he's going to be playing, if he's going to be the starter, if he's going to be a backup, if he'll be in a 3-down role, if he'll be a change of pace back. As a second running back, I don't love it. But Jeff West does have, let me see. He does have the 106 and the 111, which I'm sure he's hoping will land him at least one or two running backs because his wide receivers are solid in Mike Evans, Michael Gallup, Tyler Boyd, and Mecole Hardman, as well as John Ross and Golden Tate and Mohamed Sanu. Nothing to say about his wide receivers. It's a really good group. His tight ends, he's got Tyler Higbee, Jared Cook. Higbee, if he can do what he was doing at the end of the year, could easily be a top 10 tight end, if not much higher. But that's a big if. Gerald Everett was coming on before he got hurt, so that might affect Higbee, especially because when Gerald Everett was healthy, Higbee was used much more as a blocking tight end, which the Rams will probably need because their offensive line digressed this past season. So we'll see if he can do what he did last year again. And then Jared Cook, older tight end, but still solid. So he's at 8. Jeff West is at 8. At 7, I have extended warranty. This is another team that it just came down to depth and quarterback. If he had better quarterbacks or quarterbacks that I trusted more, he would probably be higher. His quarterbacks are Tannehill, Tom Brady, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't love any of them. Tannehill was great, but it seemed fluky, and he's also Ryan Tannehill. So I don't really want to depend on that. And then his other quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Ryan Fitzpatrick, both old. Fitzpatrick is obviously a bridge quarterback, especially if the Dolphins draft a Herbert or a Tua. He might not even finish the season as a starter. And Tom Brady, he's Tom Brady. I'm not going to say he's not great, but he hasn't been playing like Tom Brady recently. So that's a concern. At running back, he's got a really solid starting pair. Not much depth, though. He's got Zeke and Mixon, and then Damian Williams. So Zeke and Mixon, solid. Probably, other than I think you could argue he has the best running backs in the starting running backs in the league. The only team that I think would be close as an argument would be Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb, and that's really just a preference thing. But those two, solid. He doesn't have much depth with Damian Williams. Hopefully we get a little bit of clarity on the Chiefs' backfield this offseason, whether they stick with Damian Williams or draft a day 1 or day 2 running back and work him in early and often. But with Zeke and Mixon, neither of them really. Zeke literally never gets hurt. Mixon is fairly durable, so hopefully Damian Williams doesn't have to play much other than as a flex for the extended warranty. At wide receiver, we got Julio, Keenan Allen, Diggs, Adam Thielen, Dede Westbrook, Allen Lazard, and Cole Beasley. This is a really strong wide receiver group. It's a little bit older. His youngest wide receiver is Stephon Diggs, who, although will be 26 going into the season, turns 27 midway through the season. So he won't have a starting wide receiver that's younger than 27, and the majority will be older than 28. So this year, he's got great wide receivers. Probably for the next 2 to 3 years, he has great wide receivers, but they're older, and he won't be able to get value for any of them. So he'll probably just have to ride them out and try to win a championship, which means he'll need, in my opinion, to get a stronger quarterback room, which is really hard to do in Superflex. His tight end is Travis Kelce. Again, older player, but you can't do better than Kelce right now. He's been the number one tight end for, I think, 5 years straight. And in Superflex or in tight end premium, Kelce might as well be a running back. He scores like a running back does, if not better. A top 10 running back, that is. So, yeah, extended warranty, number 7. Just get the quarterbacks better, and he could easily win a championship this year. Number 6, I have ND Sarsky. It's a solid team. The only weakness that I think it has is 1, backup quarterback, and 2, his flex. Looking at it now, I should probably switch ND Sarsky and extended warranty around, putting extended warranty at 6 and Sarsky at 7. His quarterbacks are Jimmy G and Cam Newton. His third quarterback is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, I don't maybe hang on to him and hope that Drew Brees actually retires next year and that Teddy Bridgewater moves on in free agency. Jimmy G, Cam Newton, both are solid. Newton, if he's healthy, could be a top 12 quarterback, but I don't see him finishing worse than a top 24 quarterback, if he is healthy, that is. So a solid group. His running backs are Alvin Kamara, Chris Carson, Tariq Cohen. Good group. Kamara and Carson are a solid pair. Hopefully Carson's healthy. Hopefully Kamara can stay healthy. But either way, it's a good starting duo. It's definitely better than mine, Miles Sanders. That's about all I have for running back. So his is much better. Wide receiver, he's got Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Jarvis Landry, Paris Campbell, T.Y. Hilton, Marvin Jones. So Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Jarvis Landry, and T.Y. Hilton, all really solid options. Easily wide receiver 2s at worst, I would say, for all of them, unless injury happens, which is a possibility for all of them. Hopefully Landry can get healthy by preseason, hopefully. But for right now, he's been a wide receiver 2, so no reason to think he won't be. I don't love the fact that he's got Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton. Although, I guess, hoping that I think Hilton's on the last year of his contract, so Hilton can probably play for him this year and then be phased out next year. Or not phased out, but go to a different team, and Campbell can step up into that Hilton role in that offense. For this season, it caps his upside a little bit between those two. And then at tight end, he has my dynasty tight end, number 1, in George Kittle. And his backup is Jack Doyle. So can't complain about that. And that's part of the reason I put him over. I put him up at 6 above some of the other teams that might have seen better. But the Kittle at tight end with that half a point tight end premium gives him a little bump, in my opinion. So we got ND Sarsky at number 7 and extended warranty at 6. At 5, I got Hail to Troy. His team is very solid. I don't love his running backs, but he's got – what pick does he have? He's got 109, so he might be able to get a running back there in the draft, which if he can do that, it would help a lot. His quarterbacks are Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, and Case Keenum, and Kyle Allen. His starting 2, solid. Anytime you have Mahomes, it's going to pull the whole team up. So starting off there and then getting Baker, another young, promising quarterback that will hopefully bounce back. This season isn't a bad thing at all. It's not a weakness for his team. If anything, it's his strength. At running back, like I said, this is probably his weakest point. He's got Fournette, Mostert, Tevin Coleman, and that's about it. Fournette is a solid running back. I think he's top 10 easy, and if his touchdowns regress to the mean instead of being below average by a lot at 3 touchdowns this past season and get up closer to average, he could easily be a top 5 running back. He had over 100 targets this past season, which in the PPR is a huge bonus. Mostert and Tevin Coleman, I assume that's more of a hedge. Make sure that he has the starting running back for the 49ers. And if he can play that right and pick which one to start or just start both of them, that's a running back 1 weekly between the 2 of them. As long as they're both healthy, which for both of them has been an issue. But if he can pick it right and play the odds, boom, running back 1. Or just play them both, and then you got a running back 1 there. Other than you lose a little bit in your flex. At wide receiver, he's got Sutton, Lockett, Mike Williams, Darius Slayton, and not much else. But Sutton, Mike Williams, and Slayton are all young wide receivers that I think are going to take big steps forward this year. I think all 3 of them, other than maybe Mike Williams, are going to emerge as the number 1s on their team. Mike Williams, I think, is going to take a huge leap forward with any quarterback other than Rivers, as long as they have an arm that can throw the ball more than 10 yards downfield with any kind of accuracy. But yeah, and then Lockett, it's a debate whether him or DK Metcalf is the number 1 in Seattle still. I know Russell Wilson likes Lockett a lot, so as long as he's healthy, he'll be a wide receiver 2 at worst, I think. At tight end, he's got Darren Waller, an older tight end who came on really strong last year. We'll see what he does this year. I know he started to get phased out towards, not really phased out, but as other receiving weapons in the offense came on towards the end of the year, Waller kind of petered off. He was still very productive in a top 10 tight end throughout the whole season. So really solid team there. I am at 5. At 4, we have at 5 was Hail to Troy. At 4, we have Scarho. I'm not sure how to say that, but at 4, that's who we have. At quarterback, he has Jared Goff, Matt Ryan, and Andy Dalton. A solid group. Nothing to complain about. Jared Goff, Matt Ryan can both be top 10 quarterbacks, which when you have that at quarterback, doesn't matter what the rest of the team what the rest of your team looks like, you're going to be competitive. But when the rest of your team is as good as his is, you can win a championship. At running back, he has Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Phillip Lindsay, and Royce Freeman. That's good. McCaffrey and Eckler were both top 5 running backs this past season. McCaffrey was easily the fantasy MVP of the season. So if both of them can have close to the same season, he can easily win a championship. And then having Lindsay and Royce Freeman, you have Phillip Lindsay, who solid RB2, backed up by Royce Freeman. Depending on what they do in that offense or if one of them gets hurt, he's still got a really good flex play. At wide receiver, he's got Juju, Amari Cooper, John Brown, Jamison Crowder. This, surprisingly, I know it seems weird to say with Juju and Amari and John Brown, but this might be his weakest position just because of the lack of depth. Juju and Amari and John Brown aren't necessarily known for being the healthiest wide receivers. They're all great when they're playing and healthy. I'll preface that with Juju is great when Big Ben plays. Hopefully Big Ben can play this year or does play this year. He hasn't even thrown a tennis ball yet, so it's a bit iffy if he's going to be able to come back, and if he does come back, how good he's going to be. But I mean, he's Juju, so I love him because he's young and a wide receiver. Then you got Amari and John Brown, both solid. Amari emerged as a wide receiver 1 last year. John Brown bounced back in a big way as a wide receiver 2 once he got to Buffalo. So yeah, it's a solid group, but again, probably the weakest position he has. Tight end, he's got Hunter Henry and Zach Ertz. That's great at tight end. Can't ask for more. Because Zach Ertz, solid production right now. Hunter Henry is, as long as he stays healthy, is easily, in my mind, a top 10 tight end. It does depend on where he goes because he is going to be a free agent, and the Chargers have already said they're going to let him test the waters. So hopefully he goes somewhere that uses tight ends and he can stay healthy, which getting out of, I guess it's not San Diego anymore, getting out of that organization might help him stay healthy because they have not had good luck keeping players healthy in Los Angeles recently. So he's at 4. This is Sharjo at 4. So next up at 3, we have CK817. This team is very well constructed. It's possibly my favorite team in the league, other than the fact that he has 0 first-round picks for the next 3 years. And I don't think he has any picks this year. But when you hear what's on his team, you'll understand why and why I have him at 3rd. At quarterback, he's got Kyler Murray and Carson Wentz. And Phillip Rivers. This, honestly, other than tight end, might be his weakest position, which seems weird to say. But Murray and Wentz, Murray, because of his size and the way he runs, worry me for injuries. Wentz is just always a concern for injury. And then Rivers, I don't love as my backup, especially without having any first-round picks for the next couple of years. It's going to be hard to replace Rivers if and when he retires. But Kyler and Wentz, they're both top 10 quarterbacks. So you're set there. Running back, you got David Montgomery, Devin Singletary, Sony Michel, Raquel Armstead, and Justice Hill. That's a solid young group. It's not, they could win you some weeks, but they're not going to lose you any weeks, which with the wide receiver group he has, which we'll get to in a second, is really all he needs. They're both of his starters, David Montgomery and Devin Singletary, both really not super productive rookies, but productive enough that they should get opportunity again this year, and hopefully more opportunity, honestly. They both have wide receiving chops that they weren't able to display this year that they did show in college. So if that can develop, they both, I could see as being high end wide receiver 2s, possibly touching on the wide receiver 1 or the running back 1 realm. But it's a solid group backed up by Sony Michel, Justice Hill, and Armstead. Michel is your 3rd, and most weeks probably not even playing for him, to be honest. He's got the depth. And for me, that's what matters. Your starting lineup can be great, but if you don't have depth, I might value depth, to be honest, but that's why I like this team. Because of the depth, to be honest. Well, that and it's solid all the way around. He's got at wide receiver Chris Godwin, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, N'Keal Harry, Deontay Johnson, Preston Williams. That's a solid group. Chris Godwin, DJ Moore, both in my mind in the top 6 as dynasty wide receivers because their age and their production. Christian Kirk, he is a question mark for me. If he can stay healthy, he's great. If he doesn't, that's obviously an issue. But we'll see if he progresses or not. I honestly, for me, I would have Deontay Johnson ranked as his 3rd wide receiver. I think Deontay is extremely underrated right now. and is going to make, honestly, I hate to say this, but he's going to push Juju for being the wide receiver one on the Steelers this year. That seems kind of crazy to say, but I think it could happen. N'Keal Harry obviously had a lot of buzz last season, kind of fell flat, but the Patriots are an organization that's historically hard to learn their offense. So we'll see what he does this offseason. Hopefully he makes some big strides. We got Preston Williams. He's also solid. I'd be happy to have him starting on my team, honestly. We got CK817 at number 3. At number 1, skip number 2. At number 2, we have Stiff Arm Steve. His team is old, just like Steve is, so it fits, but all the way around it's solid. Quarterback, he's got Watson, Dak, Big Ben. That's a great group of quarterbacks. His starting 2 are both top 5 or were top 5 this past year, and if Big Ben can be healthy, he's at worst a top 24 quarterback, which as your third quarterback is not a bad thing. At running back, he's got Melvin Gordon, Kenyon Drake, Le'Veon Bell, Kareem Hunt, and Jordan Howard, and Jerick McKinnon. Gordon, Drake, Lev Bell, and Hunt all easily, if they have the right opportunities, which for all 4 of them is a question mark. But if they get the opportunities that they should get based on their talent, should be running back 2s, and to have 4 RB2s on your team, that's coming out of the startup. That's a pretty good start to your season. He also has the 105, which should be able to net him one of Swift, Dobbins, or Taylor, unless he decides to go wide receiver, which he could do, because his third wide receiver, and his fourth wide receiver is kind of his weakest position. At wide receiver, he's got Chark, Terry McLaurin, Sterling Shepard, Alshon Jeffrey, and Will Fuller. Fuller and Shepard and Alshon are all injury prone. There I go, throwing that word around again, but it's true. Just the facts. But Chark, Terry McLaurin, both young, both great. And I hate Steve because he sniped me and messed up my entire draft very hard. But yeah, wide receivers, probably your weakest position, Steve. And fuck you. Tight end, he has Mark Andrews and Eric Ebron. Mark Andrews, solid, really good tight end. Kind of dependent on touchdowns and had a very low snap share for the amount that he produced. If they trade Hayden Hurst, it would benefit him a lot because I think that he would then get on the field more and be more consistent. Not that he wasn't consistent this year, but just make you feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy on the inside. And then finally, at number 1, we have N. Young, 7688. At quarterback, he's going to be starting Russell Wilson and Drew Brees, backed up by Dwayne Haskins. So solid group there. Brees and Wilson, 2 vets that should produce RB1 or quarterback 1 numbers. At running back, he's got Todd Gurley, Marlon Mack, David Johnson, and Mark Ingram. And he also has Tony Pollard and Darrell Henderson. So depending on what Mac does, if they draft another running back or not, it's rumored that they will, but it was also rumored that they were going to sign him to an extension. So those 2 should be RB2s. Mark Ingram was an RB1 this year. David Johnson 2 years ago was an RB1. Whether his drop in production this year was play or not, or was based off of injury or not, it's a big question mark right now. But honestly, as his 3rd or 4th running back, it's a risk he can take. I think his team is solid enough to go ahead and win it this year and then worry about replacing David Johnson later. At wide receiver, he's got Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, James Washington, Julian Edelman, Andy Isabella, Kiki QT. So obviously his first two, they're the wide receiver 1 and 2 in Dynasty right now. Can't really get any better than that. AJ Green, if he plays, is probably still at least a wide receiver 2. It's iffy because he hasn't played a full season in 2 years. He didn't play a down last year, but he's got the talent to be a wide receiver 1, I think, still, especially if he stays with the Bengals and they draft Joe Burrow. And then James Washington, Andy Isabella, and Kiki QT are all young, nice pieces that could develop or they could end up flaming out in a couple of years. But he also has Edelman to fill in if Green isn't healthy. And Edelman was himself a wide receiver 1 this year, so that's a solid option as well. The biggest hole he has, honestly, is tight end with OJ Howard and Will Dissly. But they both have tremendous upside. Will Dissly, while he was healthy, was a tight end 1, and OJ Howard has all the talent in the world. He just needs to get the targets. That's probably not going to happen as long as he's in Tampa Bay with Bruce Arians. So that's the biggest hole that he has, which in tight end premium is kind of a big deal, but the rest of the team is good enough that it shouldn't matter. So yeah, just real quick, running back through them. At number 12 is my team, Mick27. At number 11 is Muckaleka, 27. At number 10 is Clondon. At number 9 is Boss Ox 007. Number 8 is Jeff West. Number 7 is Andy Sarsky. Number 6, Extended Warranty. Number 5, Hail to Troy. Number 4, Charjo. Number 3, CK817. Number 2, Stiff Arm Steve. And number 1 is N Young. And then now we'll do the first round rookie mock draft. At number 1, at the 101 is Boss Ox 007. And we're going to go Joe Burrow for him here. He doesn't really have a third quarterback right now. And his starters are Sam Darnold and Gardner Minshew. I don't want to go into the season relying on Gardner. So we'll take the consensus 101 in Superflex right now, which happens to be a team need. My assumption is he drafted knowing that he had the 101 to fill that quarterback spot. At 202, we have Muckaleka, and we're going to go with Swift for him. He has 3 quarterbacks, none of them that I especially love, but he also has a hole at running back. So it depends on what he wants to do. If he wants to be competitive this year, he could go Swift. If he wants to take value, he could go Tua. Personally, I would go Tua and then worry about filling running back later. My philosophy is draft for value, trade for need. But we'll just give him Swift for right now and move on. At third spot in the rookie draft, we have Andy Starsky, and he will take Tua. On his team, like I said, his third quarterback right now is Taysom Hill. Obviously a hole there. He could go with one of the running backs. He could go with a wide receiver, but Tua fell to him, and he's going to take the value and get his third quarterback locked up. Probably a starting quarterback of the future. At number 4 is my team. My team needs a lot of help everywhere. So we're going to go with value and take Herbert and hope that he works out. If he does, it'll be great. He'll be going in top 6 rounds of rookie drafts next year. Or not rookie drafts, but startup drafts, and I'll be very happy getting him at 4. At number 5 in the draft is Stiff Arm Steve. And he was my second-ranked team. His biggest hole was wide receiver, but at this spot with 3 quarterbacks going before him, he has a chance to get Taylor, so he's going to take Taylor and just be happy about it. put him in his lineup, and get some points. And be a better team, and fuck you, Steve. At number 6, we have Jeff West. He's going to take Dobbins. This is kind of just a chalky pick. And it kind of fills a need for him, too. His running backs were Kerryon and Devontae Freeman. So Dobbins hopefully will be able to plug in there and replace Freeman. Or Kerryon, depending on which one gets hurt or doesn't have a job, because I think either one of those things is going to happen to both of those running backs. At number 7 and number 8 is my team. Again, I need everything, so I'm just going to go with the chalky picks and take CeeDee Lamb. Be super happy that he fell to 7 because he's my wide receiver 1. And then at 8, I'll take Cam Akers. Again, being happy that I got him there, and he'll slide in nicely next to Sanders. And CD will fill in as my 3rd wide receiver. The team's going to look a lot better after the rookie draft, but it just depends on if they actually perform or not. At number 9, we have Hale Troy. He's going to go with Jerry Jeudy. Running back is a need for him, but there's not really a running back that I value that much higher than Jerry Jeudy in the draft right now. So he's going to take Jerry Jeudy and be really surprised that he's actually there at number 9. At number 10, I'm back up. I need everything. There's no wide receiver left that I feel super confident is going to produce right away. So I'll take Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm going to be happy that I got him. Hopefully he'll produce. He had somewhat of a poor combine, but he had a good enough season at LSU this past season that I'm not worried about his metrics. How often is a running back running in a straight line 40 yards? Not super often. At number 11, we have Jeff West back up. He's going to just go with the best player available in Jalen Reagor. Unlike Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he had a great combine. He wasn't as fast as some people thought he was going to be, but he also weighed in much heavier than I thought he would. I think he has all the tools to be a really, really good wide receiver and just a weapon in the NFL. So Jeff West will take him. He could have gone with another running back, but when you get to this range, you kind of have to go with best available and not really draft for need. And then finally, at number 12, my team's back up. Again, my team needs everything. I'm just going to take the best available player, which for me is T. Higgins. And I'll take him and be happy that I gum out of the rookie draft with Herbert, CeeDee Lamb, Cam Akers, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and T. Higgins. That's just in the first round. So that my team will look a lot better. It's still not going to be competitive, but I would say it probably moves up to 9 or 10 in the power rankings, but we'll see if it competes or not. But that's all I have for this league. We might come back and revisit it and see how it all shakes out. This is a really active league in the startup. There was lots of trades. I think I had over 20 just by myself. So there should be a lot of trading going on between now and the regular season start. But yeah, we'll come back, check on it then, and let you know how it goes. That's all we have today. So until next time, have a great day.